nice to be here. I love you all.
Hello and welcome to the Scannain Podcast, your weekly look at the world of film news, Irish and international. I'm your host, Darren Mooney. Joining me are...
Graham.
And Jay.
So we're going to talk about what we normally do. We're going to talk about the top 10, the new releases, and the week in film news. But we're going to start with what we normally do. So what have you watched since last we talked? Graham.
I like how you just got a little bit worried there. It's like, who are you?
Which one?
Who are you and what have you watched?
Yeah. What are you doing in this recording booth?
I've watched a fair few films. Looking at there, haven't watched a lot of. I've watched an eclectic mix, I might say.
Excellent.
An eclectic mix. I watched Dark Phoenix. That was one of the furthest back.
Well, we'll be talking about Dark Phoenix in the top 10.
Oh.
It's in the top 10.
Okay, we'll be talking about that in the top 10. Listeners, brace yourselves.
Can I talk about Metal Heart?
Metal Heart is coming out this week, so we'll be talking about that in the new releases.
Okay.
I love that this Graham's like, I have so
Let's
many
see.
films to talk about, and Darren's like, no, you don't.
Then I'm gonna,
Such a lure,
the
Graham.
third film. Toy Story 4?
Top 10.
Yeah, of course. Of course, because everything Graham sees is popular.
I know. I have this every week.
Oh, here's fascinating. Okay, here's a fascinating one. I saw The Shining. Now, not for the first time for me, but my fiance and my little sister had never seen it.
She was 4.
What had spurred this on was the fact that the new Dr. Sleep trailer came out.
Yes.
And neither of them knew what Dr. Sleep was. And so before I even showed them the trailer, because that's kind of a stick for me, I show people trailers before, because I get really excited for trailers for films.
I do the same thing.
Yeah. I showed them The Shining just one night, popcorn, lights turned off, and they were not scared. It's very difficult to scare breed, and my sister, it turns out, she was freaked out. There were moments of genuine, unease, you know. The thing was, in today's prism now, watching it's just like, he's like pure evil. Jack Nicholson's character is just like, straight off the bat, you can't trust him at any point in that film because of that smile.
Well, that was Kubrick's problem with the film, was that the question was not if Jack Torrance was going to lose his mind. The problem was when he was going to lose his mind.
It's a way of doing it, and it's fine. There is that issue. It just depends on how you view the film and the overall sense of it. I think it's fine with it because I don't think there's a doubt from minute one what's going to go down, and that's a very deliberate choice.
Yeah.
Also, they're seeing it very late in their lives in the sense that how many parodies have we seen of this
with a lot
film?
of films,
Like, you know, so it was a fascinating little experiment. I hadn't seen it in years. I think a decade and a half.
Wow.
It's been that long. I think the time when I saw it was at a friend's birthday party.
Oh yes, the classic 12
family favourite.
Yeah.
And it's just, but the imagery obviously still sticks with you. The score is still outstanding to this day, and I loved at the end of it just having little tidbits like, people adored this film, and they were like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I was like, yeah, but Stephen King, the guy who created it, loved it. He hated
it. Should be noted that Stephen King made his own version.
Yeah,
of it,
he made his mini-series, which was awful.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but
be
apparently
careful what you
closer to the...
Yeah, but
Close to
that
text,
it doesn't even matter. Books and movies are different. Some things work better.
And I mean, the issue with The Shining is The Shining has always been very close to King in that it's certain aspects of it are very close to his own personal circumstances. So he's
there's
very
alcoholism
attached
and stuff
to that
like
as
that.
well. Yes. And so he's maybe not as willing to share that.
Get over yourself, Stephen. You'd lost the rights to the book when there was somebody else doing it. Stop crying.
I mean,
Wow.
I'm
Yeah, I've said
sympathetic,
it.
but I also
I'm
think
not
that
sympathetic.
Shining is okay.
You know,
I'll be interested to see has he released a tweet or a thought yet on Dr. Sleep?
Well, this is the thing where
I suspect he's involved in that. So
Yes,
I think that'll be very positive.
And apparently, looking at the trailer, one of the issues with Dr. Sleep is that it's in that sort of like uncanny valley where it's like Stephen King's Shining, but also Stanley Kubrick's Shining, and
it has to use it.
Yeah,
it has to use it because it is a
Tim
sequel.
Matheson,
and even the director's just like, oh no, we didn't
we recreated.
We recreated scenes, and you can see the recreation scenes.
Yeah.
You can see there is a clear difference.
Yeah.
The only scene they didn't recreate was the elevator blood. Yeah, because that is impossible.
Probably.
But it was interesting. For the entire film, what was very funny was neither Breed nor my little sister Shannon trusted Tony. The entire film, and I was just like, guys, Tony is clearly looking out for this family.
The little man who lives in the child's finger.
The little boy.
Yeah.
It's it's just two friends hanging out.
Sure. That's what it is.
I'm
It
waiting,
is!
I'm waiting for
Sure.
The Shining from Tony's perspective.
Yeah.
I will say that The Shining actually is the reason my mother won't watch horror movies. She was an au pair in Belgium. She went to see it with a couple of friends. Had to walk home alone afterwards at the age of 18, and apparently
Bumped into Jack Nicholson.
No,
Okay.
no, there's no. That's the story. That is the full story. But yeah, that's the reason why she won't watch horror movies.
Wow.
Yeah. Because
I mean,
The Shining
perfect-
scared her that much.
It was the perfect storm
Yeah.
right
It
there.
scared me as well, but I was a lot younger than I should have been to watch it. But that's one of those things also. But I still find it very unnerving.
I
My
can't get,
granddad showed me at the age of 8.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
can't get out of
He
it.
was not over this.
I was a
month.
veteran 12 at that when I seen it.
I can't get out of it because I was at the age of around 15, 16 when I first started noticing it in the pop culture. Obviously, apart from The Simpsons, there was this weird connection. There's a weird connection between two Jokers because of this. Jared Leto's band 3 Seconds to Mars has a song where it's basically the plot of The Shining. And so now Jared Leto, one of the later Jokers, and Jack Nicholson had this weird connection through a music video and a film that they were both a part of.
Thankfully, I haven't and won't ever see Jared Leto's band play in any way, shape, or form to find this out for myself.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to do I don't think they're going to do the film live.
Thank God.
What's that? What's that line from? Oh, it's Popstar, where it's 30 Seconds to Miles. 30 Seconds to Mars is a band, not a fact.
That was amazing.
Indeed.
One of the few funny lines of that film.
Whoa. Okay.
No.
Whoa. Okay.
Hey, I'm a fan of Andy
Controversial.
Sandberg.
Jesus.
Whoa.
I'm a
Yeah.
fan of him. I'm a fan of him, and I
Graham-
did not
Graham,
like that
you
film.
had the room and you lost the room.
Okay.
The Elizabeth Warren of podcast, you are.
But what have you watched? So what else have you watched, Bruce?
It's mainly been TV.
Oh, go for
But it's just been that. Those have been the rare few films that I've gotten a chance to watch, and thankfully I'll be able to talk about the other ones later on.
Yes, you will.
All right, so Jay, what have you watched since last we talked?
Right, I want to get this one out of the way straight away because on Tuesday night, while I was having a glass of wine or two, I stumbled upon on Sky Movies one Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice,
Oh, good God.
which I'd previously seen the first 30 minutes of before turning it off. So, you know, the funeral with the rain and the umbrellas and all that. Right. And so I was like, nah, this is not for me, so I'm not going to watch it. But, you know,
It was Bruce Wayne's parents' funeral.
don't care. So I was like, I stumbled upon
I mean,
it.
did you get to appreciate the majesty of it? Like
Yes.
bookended with funerals?
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
indeed.
I mean, the careful structuring it now makes sense.
So I somehow kind of stuck with it. That was probably a mistake.
Oh, no.
This is a lot. This film's a lot.
It is. isn't
Which
it?
version was it?
I
Oh, it was,
don't
it
care.
was the original.
I don't-
version.
I don't
Oh, it was the original
It was
version?
the theatrical cut.
The theatrical
Uh,
cut's better.
There was also a leprechaun in the middle.
Yes, we'll get to that.
What?
Oh, we'll get to it. Don't worry. This is too much. It's just too much. It's very much a Snyder film in the sense that you can't not say that he is not bringing his, and I'm putting these in inverted commas, unique vision to it. Like it's a Snyder film.
Darren,
Absolutely.
can I ask, did you bring me on this episode on purpose?
This
No,
was
I-
accidental. Weirdly,
Like you were I texted you
yeah.
beforehand.
and then I stumbled upon
and
it.
then he stumbled upon it. And
then I
was,
said, "Poor
yeah,
Graham."
no,
Because
my
anybody who knows me
I know.
across the social network will know that I adore this film.
I know you do,
And-
which is why I'm not going to be too harsh on
and
it.
Graham-
Well, when I say I'm not going to be too harsh, I'm not going to get into
and
it.
I'm going to be the mediator here.
Yes.
I'm going to be.
Because Darren was also arguing with me when I was watching it to say, no, it's really good.
Hold on, no, well, okay.
Hang on, you gave it 3.5 stars.
I did give it 3.5 stars.
What's that? 70%?
Yeah,
pretty
70%.
good.
That's pretty strong.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but then,
That's above pass.
yes, it is.
Far
So,
above pass.
That's far above
no,
pass.
the
So-
Batman vs Superman is far above pass.
I
But we're cutting them off. Let me go.
there was a point where I came back in the room, sat back down, leaned on the TV control, knocked on a different Sky Movies that was showing a Leprechaun film. Didn't realise for about 8 or 9 minutes because I thought this is one of these
As in
idiotic
Warwick
subplots.
Davis?
What?
As in
it
Warwick
wasn't.
Davis?
It wasn't. It was a different one.
Darby O'Gill and the Little People?
No, it's one of the Leprechaun films.
Oh, in the
There-
franchise.
there's a
like
few
in
of
the-
them.
Oh, okay, right.
Uh,
Leprechaun in the Hood?
I don't know.
In space?
I thought this was. I genuinely thought this was like. Is there a Leprechaun in Batman? Is there some sort of bad guy called
mean,
a
there's
Leprechaun that I
Irish
missed?
villain.
I mean, like, there's Batmite in Mr.
You
Mix's
see,
Fiddlick,
that's what I mean.
so
That-
you could have.
It seemed reasonable to me.
It seemed reasonable.
I was drinking wine, I will say that. So about 8 minutes in, I was like, fuck, there's no Leprechaun. Let's get it back to the film. I came back.
You text me about the leprechaun, and I was like, I think that's a Russian accent the
Yeah.
guy's doing. And you're like, no, it's a leprechaun. I'm like, the guy with the flamethrower, he's a
I was
Russian.
like, hang on a second, this
Yeah,
is not the
KG
film.
Beast.
So I put it back, and there was still big guns shooting big things, and things smashing into each other in the sky, and dark
I think
skies
you mean an
thing,
excellent
slogging,
deconstruction of
slogging,
hypermasculinity in
exhausting,
superhero cinema.
absolutely exhausted.
That doesn't happen that much
I'll
in this
finish
film.
to say it does. It never stops. It's just it's Zack Snyder jerking off to the fountainhead, and I will never. I know when people like it. People like a lot of things, and everybody has the right to like what you want. But no, just no. No. So I think enough said about that.
Okay, I would argue it's a fantastic.
I know you would.
Of hypermasculine.
Yeah,
superhero
you
cinema.
can argue that as you want,
Okay.
Darren, but you're wrong.
All right.
You just said he's allowed to have his
He's allowed
own
to it,
opinion.
but he's wrong.
To have his...
He can keep his opinion.
Anyway, what else have we watched, Jay?
Okay, I did a weird kind of accidental double bill of Victor Victoria and Cabaret, because they're kind of similar in a lot of ways. I've been watching the Fosse Verdon TV show, which obviously covers the cabaret, making the cabaret stuff at the time. So it's like
This is Sam Rockwell and Michelle Williams,
yes,
right?
interesting, not brilliant, but has brilliant episodes and really good performances.
And a
But-
fantastic hairstyle.
yes, indeed. So I said,
Did you say
On
hairstyle?
Sam Rockwell, yes.
yes.
Oh, okay.
I watched I hadn't seen Cabaret in a long time. My wife never seen it, so we said we'll watch it. Cabaret is fantastic. So good.
I remember being great, and it's surprising how little attention it still gets. I remember.
Well, I think it gets a little bit, but not perhaps as much as it should. It's this kind of idea of, the decadence and luxuriation of life while people around you are fighting to end it, essentially. Like, it's just the rise of Nazism in 30s Berlin, and it's very much a parallel today, as you can imagine, accidentally in that regard, I guess. But it's a glorious musical, balanced perfectly between comedy and tragedy. It's really brilliant. The choreography is amazing. Minnelli is out of this world good.
I feel Sam Rockwell can do that very well. Balance between comedy and tragedy quite well.
Oh no, that's Phosphodone.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but no, but the original film is from 72, so Rockwell would have been a babby.
I would have.
Yeah, but he would have been a good babby in it. But so I watched Victor Victoria again, which is 1930s Paris, as opposed to 1930s.
I weirdly thought that was the hairstyle.
Yeah, no, it's a
Listeners,
it's
I
quite
just saw the hairstyle. That was the first thought I had.
Yeah,
That's weird.
it's weird. But Victor Victoria is a kind of 1930s Paris as opposed to 1930s Berlin. It's a much more farcical comedy romp, which Ronan put me on to a
Julie
few months
Andrews,
ago.
am I right,
Julie
is it?
Andrews and Robert Preston. It is a sensational film. Funny, bizarre, strange, absolutely progressive, particularly for an early 80s film. Like, and still would stand up in that regard today in terms of sexuality and various other things around that. The cast is amazing, the songs, the physicality, the set pieces, the setups. It's just a wonder and like exceptional to watch. And two very quickly, I'll just skip on two quick ones. I watched Touch Me Not, which is I think German film. I'm going to say German film or Austrian film. It's one of them.
Feels
Be very
German.
careful.
It is a film that I think won the award at Berlin either last year or the year before.
So is
the
it
main,
germane to the discussion?
but it is in some ways because Berlin has a weird
Why?
reputation in terms of winners and quality of films.
The Silver Bear and the Golden
Yeah,
Bear.
yeah.
And stuff like
So
that.
we won. This is a filmmaker who decides to kind of do this film. It's kind of quasi-documentary fiction film about intimacy and sexual intimacy. And it has these kind of ideas of, people who have kind of physical deformities and kind of wanting to be intimate with people. And it has kind of older woman and younger guy. And it's just really interesting idea of the kind of landscape of bodies and stuff like that. And really, really interesting. But the film is glacially paced. I mean, glacially paced. I was exhausted by nothing going on for huge chunks of it. And it has a real distancing approach, which kind of makes it just feels really cold.
So it was unbearable, is what
I
you're
swear
saying?
to God,
yeah.
one more.
Laura Benson is the lead and is very good. But the film as a whole, it's about 2 hours long and I really felt it. Sometimes 2 hour films can be
Can
kinda,
brush by, and sometimes they feel about four.
This ran and ran and ran. So yeah, no. And we watched the Varda because
Of course you did.
Because it's you.
I'm really running out of them at this stage. But
How many have you got left?
do
Do you have like a little Varda counter?
I do, yeah. I have it on Letterboxd. I have my own thing. I've watched 25
Of
of about 54.
I was gonna say,
but
yeah.
a lot of them are either shorts or unavailable or hard to get. I've one more available to me to watch. So this is
Okay, and appropriate enough, that will almost be the halfway point.
yes, and then there's a new one next in Galway
which
in a
you'll be
couple weeks,
watching,
which
and
we will talk about in
that'll
a
take
little
you
bit.
to,
I don't want to break it down, but isn't she
Oh yeah, she
Yeah, she
yeah,
did.
yeah,
So-
she
Wow.
did.
Couple of
Her
months back.
final film.
Oh, wow.
She
It's
worked
in Galway
right
in the flat.
Yeah.
They're going
Oh,
to show
cool.
it.
Worked right until the end. Like I mean, she's producing almost one a year, if not more.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think. Yeah.
But what I watched was Cleo from 5 to 7, Remembrances and Anecdotes.
Oh,
and
so
it's
it's a
a
making of
documentary.
almost.
It's about 40-minute documentary from, I think, 2005, where she looks back on her film, Cleo from 5 to 7, which is one of the most famous films and kind of put her on the map
It
internationally.
was one of the first ones that you watched. I remember.
Yes, it
coming
is.
up
It's
and-
great. It was on the Guy Fight season. And what's really interesting, and Vardas is, and I'm amazed filmmakers don't do a lot more of this, is looking at their own critically kind of analysis of their own film from a younger person. Like,
Yeah.
so she kind of reunites the cast who are a lot older, and age is always the thing with Varda. It's one of her main preoccupations. So she puts them in the same places, and and this
And so you
building
get
was
the
here, but that
contrast,
building is
yeah.
not here anymore. City has changed, the world has changed, people have changed. I've changed. I did this shot at the end of the last film. It didn't really work. I'll show it again and show you what we had to do and why it didn't work and stuff. And it's a real kind of critical evaluation and kind of reminiscence about A, how time passes in our own films, and B, because the film is almost set in real time,
Yeah.
And then this is kind of like a look back in that regard. And it's absolutely fantastic and really interesting and really honest. And the kind of passing time is never far away. It's kind of very moving in that way, like particularly in the sense that she's just died very recently. I really, really loved it. In the way I love all her films, because she's the best.
All right,
There you go.
That
Yeah.
wraps up. In terms of what I've watched this week, I've watched a whole bunch of stuff that, like Graham, we'll be talking about later on in the podcast. So the big new film that I've watched this week is What We Left Behind, the Deep Space Nine documentary, which
so sad
screened
I missed
last
that.
night. It's screening again on Sunday, actually. So
Oh.
I'm stealing it out of the new releases. So if
Yeah.
you are
Okay.
interested, you can catch it in at Sunday at 3 p.m. screening internationally. It'll be at Movies At, it'll be at Lighthouse, that sort of places. It's also screening across Europe as well at the same time, and in Australia and New Zealand. This is fascinating because it's very similar to what you were saying there about Varda, this idea of filmmakers and people who have told stories going back
Yes.
and sort of examining their own work. In this case, it's Ira Stephen Bear, the guy who show ran Deep Space Nine for 7 years. Deep Space Nine being the second Star Trek spin-off, the third Star Trek TV show, which ran for 7 years and was the only Star Trek show to air without ever being the only Star Trek show on the air. 2 years overlap with The Next Generation, 5 years overlap with Voyager, and so as a result it has this weird place in sort of television history. It's very well loved by the people who watched it. I would consider it one of the seminal shows of the 90s. It's absolutely fascinating, very worth watching. And what happened is Bear, who is the showrunner of it, was approached in 2012 and asked would he be interested in making a documentary about it. It took him 7 years, which means that he's lived with this documentary for as long as he lived with the show
Wow.
while it was in production, which is remarkable. And he talks about in the
It's
documentary
like
about
balance, actually.
that's exactly a bit of sense of symmetry.
Yeah.
And now it took him so long to find the documentary and to be what it's about, because it's not a conventional making of documentary, because Star Trek's done that before, stuff like William Shatner's Chaos on the Bridge and stuff like that,
Yeah.
The Next Generation.
I like
Those
that.
No, it's fantastic. It's very worth seeking out, and an interesting look at it, like a TV production.
It's on
landmark.
Netflix.
Yes, so if you want to check out Chaos on the Bridge, if you've got an interest in Star Trek production or even just television production in general, that's very worth seeking out. What We Left Behind is not that. What We Left Behind is not an exploration of the making of or sort of a documentary accounting for. It's something that's weirdly more personal. It's this director who's reckoning, or this creator who's reckoning with, or not even creator, producer who's reckoning with the body of his work and trying to put it in context. And it's absolutely fascinating in what it does, because it's as weird and esoteric as the TV show itself was. It reflects not the vision of the show as many people remember it. In particular, it doesn't dwell on things that a lot of fans would expect it to, like, say, the 30th anniversary episode, the Trials and Tribulations. It doesn't dwell on things like the Dominion War or the conflict or the alleged cynicism of it. Instead, it reflects the show as Bear himself saw it and as Bear himself journeyed to do. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there with regards to talking to actors, and actors who are present, actors who passed away, actors who refused.
Who's passed?
A couple of the guest stars, like Barry Jenner, for example, passed away and stuff like that. But even things like Avery Brooks, who played the lead, has refused to, didn't want to take part because he felt like he had all the stuff he wanted to say. And so
He stayed very much away from that.
He did, but I mean, there's enough archive footage there, and what Bear does that's interesting is he grapples a great deal with Brooks, and in particular with the way the studio treated Brooks, and what's remarkable is the effort to contextualize it. And again, this is where it's about how Bear sees Deep Space Nine. So there's an extended portion of the start that deals with the idea of casting an African-American lead in this role, but also things like Paramount insisting that... and like, you have the head of Paramount Television saying that Brooks could not have the goatee and could not be bald because that was too street. For the viewers in the mid-90s.
But they were he was from the Mirror universe.
Oh, and yeah, but I mean, eventually he had to. No, but it's very much. It was like a representation of black man on television and how threatening that was. In
So
the
actually,
way...
so Brooks looked like that?
Brooks always looked like that when he did like
Previous
a man
to-
called Hawk. Yeah, he was.
I was introduced to
he
Avery
was in, like,
Brooks
Spencer
in
for
DS9.
Hire. He was a relatively well known actor at the time.
He was.
And
He
he
did.
had a
I
very-
remember Spencer for her and
Yeah,
stuff like
he had
that,
a very
yeah.
distinctive look, and they shaved him. And like, he doesn't partake in the documentary, but Bear talks about his conversations with him and how Brooks felt like he was not himself when he was made to grow hair, when he was made to shave his beard. And like the documentary goes into that because it's Bear kind of grappling with this and sort of like looking at this and asking why. And even things like, for example, it goes into stuff like Brooks's work as a director and Brooks's insistence on bringing stuff like the relationship between a black man and his son on a science fiction show in the 90s and in 90s television in particular, and why that was important to him
Unique.
to do. And even things like, and it does stuff that I hadn't noticed, like for example, Brooks's direction of certain episodes like Far Beyond the Stars, which is about racism, where the footage intercuts between how Brooks chose to shoot the police violence of that episode with the actual footage of the Rodney King beating, which obviously would have been a huge part.
Yeah.
And it's framed in exactly the same manner, which is something that I had never picked up actually watching the episode. And there's a whole host of interesting stuff like that. And it's interesting because, again, it opens with a proviso that all of this is oral history. None of this should be trusted. None of this should be taken at its word.
Yeah, it's people's opinion. And
Yeah.
remembrances
And
of
people's
various
memories.
and
things.
how unreliable that is.
Yeah.
And most notably, at certain points, Bear himself stops the documentary and holds himself to account. The only person that he avoids pointing fingers, and in particular, like there are stories that people who are well versed in Star Trek history will recognize that are told without implicating people in them. So Terry Farrell talks about being told that if she wasn't on Star Trek, she would be working in a cocktail bar and would be lucky to be taking home $3 an hour. She doesn't say who said that, even though anybody who has read any history of Star
probably
Trek
have
knows
an idea of it.
exactly
Oh, okay.
who it was who said that. Whereas on the other hand, Bear is quite happy to stop the documentary and hold himself to account and say, I didn't do this right. I messed this up. I should have done more. I didn't do enough. I don't deserve credit for this. And various stuff like that. And it's absolutely fascinating because it reflects that in a way. It's very fan servicey, but in a very esoteric sort of way. And it's a joyous celebration. Also, it includes upscaled HD footage of Deep Space Nine. So if there is a chance that CBS will be interested in doing that, I would wholeheartedly recommend a kind of a release of that. Anyways, let's move on to the week in film news. The big news this week, and probably the most exciting for us, is that the Galway Film Fleadh has announced its lineup. Now, it's been teasing us for a little while now, but they've got the full lineup released online. And Jay, I believe you've been booking tickets.
Yeah, I've got a few that I might have. I kind of have lined up. One of the, and again, this won't surprise anyone. There's Barda season on during it.
Oh, there is indeed. Like
It's
there's
like
posters
it's
all
like the
over,
Know Me or something. I don't know.
Also,
Also,
you mentioned it like literally a few minutes ago.
But
Well, yeah.
also every film festival is doing a Barda season, which is quite correct, honouring her memory.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's great to see. Cannes obviously did an example, but even
and Edinburgh Film Festival has it, but they're free.
and they're free as well to the public. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean,
but there's I obviously haven't seen a lot of the stuff aside from the Barda stuff. We'll say, but there are some highlights. Joanna Hog's The Souvenir, which is getting raves out of festivals. I really want to see. It looks terrific. Polly McIntosh's Darling, the horror film.
Okay.
I think she's starting The Walking Dead at the moment, and she's written and directed this film.
Nice.
Cool.
It's a kind of a late night screening, which looks really interesting.
A late night screening is always kind of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's things like the Paul Dwan film, What Time Is Death?
Which you saw at
Sorry, Best Before Death.
Best
No,
Before
which
Death,
is a kind of a companion
isn't it, I
piece.
believe?
Yeah, What Time Is Death is in my top 3 films of the year at
Yeah.
the moment, so I'm expecting to really like this. And he's a fantastic documentary, one of the better documentary filmmakers we have. And there's various others that I hadn't heard of, but I'm very much look forward to seeing, just have reading on it. But I mean, I don't think you can kind of miss. There's plenty shown. I'm hoping to get to about 16 films over
Nice.
4 days. So
Which is pretty impressive.
My God.
You're aiming
Impressive.
for a 6-film Friday, I believe.
6-film Friday could happen. I'll have to somehow smuggle
You are
beer and pizza into that somehow,
some
but I'll do
man,
it because
Jay.
I'll do it,
Some man indeed.
because I care about our listeners.
And about the film
And about the film
culture.
flat. Yes, I do.
But
It
yes,
feels like it's a little road trip every year.
Yes, myself, Niall, and Ronan will be there this year.
possibly
Grace as well. Darren, unfortunately, couldn't make it.
Yes, 'cause I'm
some
not
excuse
cool enough.
about his family or whatever. I don't know.
My brother's graduating from college.
Like that's important. But yeah.
I am audibly shaking my head.
Yeah,
at
I know
Darren.
it's disgraceful.
Audibly.
But it should be a good trip. We were there last year. It was the first time I was at it last year, and it was fantastic.
And hopefully we'll be podcasting from there as well.
We may do. We might even actually record this time. Who
We
knows?
did record last time.
Well,
It just wasn't
kind of.
usable.
It was a.
Were you in a pub or something?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. We'll do it properly this time. We're professionals now. We've grown as people.
All right, in terms of other film news, the makers of Gaza, the documentary, which I believe
It's shown in the FLA as well, I think, actually. Yeah, we showed it
Diff as well.
Yep.
They've donated their prize money to the Gaza Red Carpet Festival Appeal, which is remarkable. Again, the striking image is the attempt to hold a film festival in Gaza. You can check out those images online. It's really, really striking.
I was going to see this, but then I'd seen it the film I saw previously at Diff was absolutely grim and war-torn, and I just couldn't face it, but I heard very good.
No matter how much pizza they plied you with.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, in terms of Extraordinary, which I believe is also filming at also screening at the FLA.
Nate Higgins, Will Forte.
Yeah, which is gaining great
Yeah,
reviews,
it was
actually.
South by
Really
Southwest did really got a
well,
good word from it.
Cranked Up Films have acquired the North American distribution for that.
Yep.
In terms of news close to the home, the Gays LGBT Film Festival launched last night, and tonight they're actually screening Vita and Virginia as well.
Lovely.
Where our intrepid reporter Ronan Doyle will be there, I think, for the screening.
Yeah.
Myself and Ronan went to the launch last night.
I believe you described it as good a launch as you've seen.
Yes, it's great. Nothing to do with the bottles of Corona, but but it was great. No, genuinely,
they know their audience.
There's a man of sophisticated.
They've lined up a really, really strong festival. Ronan in particular highlighted a few films. You can find the lineup on
Scannain or even on
the festival last year was great. Saw the Miseducation of Cameron Post. That was a great. That was a highlight for me. I thought that film was absolutely fantastic.
This is August Bank Holiday weekend anyway. There's a lot of shorts, a lot of Irish international shorts and features, and it looks great.
Very worth checking it out. Yeah. In terms of Irish films that are being distributed, Donal Foreman's The Image You Missed is now available on Vimeo on demand worldwide, except for the US and Canada, so almost worldwide. That was one of Scannain's films of the year last year.
That was my second best film of the year. I absolutely adored it.
Which makes it very, very, very worth seeking out.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of other Irish distribution news, The Hole in the Ground, which will be opening in the States in cinemas on July 19th, which is great. It's always great to see that going internationally.
Yeah.
And then we're going to move on to the top 10. But before we do, it seems to happen every year, and it seems to happen every summer in particular. But we're sort of stuck in an existential crisis in Hollywood, where there's been a little bit of discussion. I think this day last week, the New York Times posted, and again, happens every year, but still I get a kick out of the headline.
Yes.
Will movies even exist 10 years from now?
The answer is, of course, yes, we will.
Yes. And what form they'll take, and whether or not there's a sea change
that was
going
this
on.
minute in Who Cares?
Yes. Well, no, I mean, it's an interesting article, and I thought it was worth drawing attention to. It's got great voices. Ava DuVernay's there, Kumail Nanjiani's there, Paul Feig is there.
Did anyone actually say, no, it won't?
A lot of, as you might imagine, a lot of the older school distribution heads were very anxious.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say
Tim
old
Roth
head like Steven Spielberg. No, film won't be around. Not like I remember it.
But we've had this conversation. I remember
you have it every...
Spielberg and Lucas talking about the end of kind of blockbuster films.
Yeah, because of
Netflix.
I mean, Spielberg hates Netflix, and then he hops over to one of the other streaming services.
Well, in fairness to Spielberg, he's done TV quite a bit. Amblin has done a lot of TV, in fairness, over the years. So,
but I think that at a certain point, you sort of reach a point of maturity where you're settled in your ways. Now, I mean, it's a credit to Scorsese.
Spielberg?
No, Spielberg.
All right, that's okay.
I think it's more that's the kind of, and it's to Scorsese's kind of credit that he's willing to go along with it. Although, to be fair, unlike Spielberg, one could argue that the only way that Scorsese will get to make the films that he wants to make will be through.
Well, I think certainly the one he's making now, I think that's certainly the case. I think generally speaking,
because no studio is going to give him the money for that.
Well, they should, but they don't. I mean, if you would imagine,
Paramount almost did, and we know where Paramount are now.
Well, Paramount perhaps should have.
Yeah.
But the fact that the Wolf of Wall Street made a fortune for an 18-inch certificate in a 3-hour film should really have been an indicator that he knows what he's doing. Having said that, I'm still worried about it because of the aging and vice versa.
I'm very worried about that because we actually talked about this. There's certain things you can't de-age: voices, legs. You know, you can't de-age everything.
For those short scenes, the scenes where
the scenes where you're running.
Yes.
Oh,
Samuel L.
in
Jackson.
terms of
Samuel Jackson in Captain Marvel, where he
I think Scorsese might be smart enough to not have them running. But I take the point.
And I mean, also, it is worth knowing that it is in the context of a summer that has been pretty bad.
There's flops and there's critical
bombs as well, and there's also
some people are saying this is the worst summer that we've had.
Memory, I think that The Ringer made a very convincing case for that. I mean, even outside of things like box office, the fact that
I'll be interested to see what this top 10 looks like.
Had Movie Pass, which folded last year.
That was a shit show for about 2 years.
It absolutely was, but it did give the box office a big boost last year, which is perhaps
but unsustainable boost.
Absolutely,
absurdly.
I think the fact that we're talking about it in the past tense reveals that.
I think it still exists as a bare bones thing. Like you can see one film in one cinema 1 week.
I don't know if that even exists anymore.
It did a couple of weeks ago. I did see an article where people got new emails.
They should call it movie fail. Is what they should call it.
I think they do.
But yeah,
I'll let that pass.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right, so let's move on to the top 10 and see how they're
Hit me,
doing in
what you
Ireland.
got?
All right. At number 10, it's Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Yay.
Which has earned over €500,000 at the Irish box office so
Not
far.
on my money, it hasn't.
All right.
Technically
wow,
not on
Jay
my...
is King of the Monsters.
Yes, I am.
Technically not on mine either. I saw it via press screenings.
Yeah,
But I really enjoyed it.
Which is...
More than that can be said for most people.
No, there are
That's
people
not true. It's doing very well.
There are people who quite enjoy it.
People like monsters smashing into monsters. Doesn't mean the film's any good, though.
I have many retorts, but I
All
choose
right,
not to
at
give
number
them now.
9, at number 9, Daddy's having to step in and say, kids, I will turn this podcast around. At number 9, it's Child's Play, which earned
Surprisingly
Have not
good
seen that
reviews.
great reviews.
I've
Actually,
not seen that yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm
No.
very
I
excited about it.
Either. I'm probably not going
Probably
to.
because all that anti-marketing against
Yes,
Toy Story 4.
Which is amazing. Like the fact they have like him burning Rex alive,
Or
and
him cutting-
Woody, and leaving-
Or then him cutting like Buzz's head off.
yeah, or like roasting the tail end of the
Yeah.
dog and
Oh.
stuff like that. But also even the counter programming of releasing it the same weekend
Yeah.
as Toy Story 4.
Because they had to, because Disney owns every month.
Well, that's it exactly. Well, I mean, Disney, that's it. When you talk about the summer box office, the films that are performing very well tend to be Disney films.
Yeah.
And they tend to be positioned in such a way that they bleed into one another. So you
Yeah,
have Captain-
we're going to start having
Yeah.
cannibalism here.
Well, you have Captain Marvel up until you've got Dumbo, you've got Dumbo up until you've got Endgame,
Endgame.
you've got Endgame up until you've got Aladdin, you've got and so on.
Aladdin
and so
up until the film we're seeing tonight.
Yeah. And
Oh, wait, no, sorry,
that's
Aladdin
a
up until
Sony
Toy
film.
Story
Yes,
4,
yeah,
sorry.
Toy Story 4, and so
I'm
on. and so
barely
on.
a breath.
And that's it indeed. And there's no room for anybody else to breathe. Now, to be fair, Toy Story 4 may have suffered. Sorry, Child's Play may have suffered from a poor opening weekend in Ireland, in particular, in terms of rather unfortunate sort of connotations, but also even just in terms of
Yes.
weather as well. At number 8, Diego Maradona, which is 2 weeks in the top 10 for a
Yeah.
I
documentary.
heard great things. I heard really great things.
Mm,
You seen it?
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm a big Maradona fan, not so much a big director fan, so we'll see.
Yeah, not a big fan of Amy and Senna.
No,
Okay.
not great.
Luke, who was very cynical about Amy, quite liked Maradona.
Yeah, I know. I will get to it because I do like Maradona, but yeah.
At number 7, X-Men, Dark Phoenix.
I thought it was just Dark Phoenix.
Well, whatever.
No, it's X-Men.
No,
Dark
it's really
Phoenix.
funny because it used to be just Dark Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh no, we need name recognition because people are going to not understand what this
Actually, I
is.
probably wouldn't have known if somebody hadn't told me. So there you go.
It's a movie about how dark it gets in Phoenix.
Also,
that's right,
at
as well.
no point is she ever called Phoenix Dark Phoenix. The word Phoenix Force is never used.
I mean, you say that as if like this movie
And she
was
fights
not,
three people.
was not heavily gutted.
Oh, it was
and sort of,
awful. It's just like, hey,
skinned
these are
from the inside
basically
out.
the Skrull. Are they? Yeah, they shapeshift, so they're kind of the Skrull.
We talked about this in the podcast before. Kind of like that. I kind of like that it's like Captain. Like again, the fact that it was reshot to avoid clashing with
that
Captain
would be
Marvel,
cool. Yeah, that would
and
be
the fact
cool.
that it ends up with the mutants in the custody of the MCU.
Yes.
and how terrible that is, and how they're.
But that's not the director being smart and going, here's a little jab. No, this is because the literal MCU and you best not do this,
Yeah.
or you're gonna fail even more miserably. That's like there's no smartness in this film. There's no intelligence. There's no cleverness. There's a handful of good scenes, and once again, Jennifer Lawrence is phoning it in. For everyone's
She doesn't
phoning it
have
in.
that mystique.
In fairness,
she's
I
never had
did-
that mystique.
I didn't like her in the.
You didn't like her in
whatever.
Winter's Bone.
I did like her in Winter's Bone.
I'm kidding.
Jesus.
I'm
But
kidding.
no, it's like Dark Phoenix.
All right, then.
People say
Sorry,
this
yeah. I'll allow that.
on many reviews, and that there was a point to end the X-Men. There was a beautiful, poignant, perfect point, and it was the end of Logan, and that would have been perfectly to send them off. But no, they had to keep trying and keep milking that cow until it was dead.
All right, it's fine. You're gonna get.
You're not
your,
a fan then,
you're
Graham,
gonna
no?
get your- you're
No,
gonna get- you're gonna
no.
get your Marvel
It's
Cinematic
to
Universe
me, it
reboot
is
of
the
this.
worst film of this year.
Jeez.
Okay. I would not agree with that. but
Okay, what's
what's
yours?
Polar, easily.
What's Polar?
Polar is a movie that opens with Johnny Knoxville receiving a blowjob and getting shot through the heart of a pool.
There's no way that was released in a
Netflix.
theater.
Okay, if we're going for theater.
Yeah, theater.
Welcome to Marwen, or This Is Life.
That wasn't this year.
That was this year.
Was it?
This has been a long year, Graham.
Oh my
I'm already
gosh.
20
I've
years
seen
older.
400 films this year, and it's only June.
That was this year? Oh, wow.
Yeah, there we
Wow.
go.
There
I
you
mean,
go.
I haven't seen it, but like, I remember how much you hated that
Oh,
film.
yeah. At number 6, it's Brightburn.
I haven't seen that. I really want to see
A
that.
weekend gross of nearly 30,000.
You liked that, didn't you?
I quite like this. I like this a lot, actually. I gave it a bit more credit than a lot of people. I know.
Friend of ours, mutual friend Cara, did not.
Oh no, absolutely. And again, I completely
people
understand
didn't,
this.
Yeah.
No, I'm willing to accept him in the minority on this one.
Well,
as
good
well.
for you, Darren.
I know.
Well done.
I will burn all the brighter for that.
Yeah, Jesus.
Oh, fine.
It's not the worst one he's done, so let's let him have it.
There's going to be another one long. If you didn't like that one, there'd be another long fight now.
Yeah.
At number 5, rocketing along, it's Rocketman.
Less than 5 minutes. I haven't seen it. I've heard amazing.
$1.5 million. So it's 1.5 million euros.
And I don't think it's got that big a budget either, so it is making
The
that
gas
money
thing
back.
about it is, I was at the cinema during the week, and the interesting thing about it was that they had a Bruce Springsteen themed film.
What?
Oh, yeah.
There's this
What?
film
It's
that
a
starts.
documentary,
No,
or-
no, no, no.
No, it was a Bruce Springsteen
Oh, it's
film.
Thunder Road. It's
Yeah,
Jim
right.
Cummings, yeah.
Is it?
Was it Thunder
Is
Road?
it called Thunder Road?
No.
Okay. So you say Bruce Springsteen and you say
No, there's
things
this film where this young guy is kind of in school and then discovers Bruce Springsteen. And,
Oh.
Yeah, I know what film.
and
The
I was
weird
like,
thing is, I
halfway
know
through
what
the
you're talking about.
film,
Yeah, because they had a
literally
bit
kind
of...
oh, it's a Bruce Springsteen film. All right.
With his new album, like they had a launch of both his new album with sample music and this
can't
film.
recall the
I
name of the
cannot.
film.
Listeners, I'm very confused.
Blinded
Anyway,
by the lights.
regardless.
Oh,
Blinded by the
Yes.
lights.
Is that
Yeah.
Springsteen?
Well, there's
Apparently.
Springsteen partly, and then obviously the abomination that is Richard Curtis is Danny Boyle's mess.
Oh, we're going to be getting to that later.
So it's a weird. This is
Jay
we're
may
going to
have
see a lot
strong
more of
feelings
this.
about the new releases.
Do we? That's not like me.
Let's see.
At number 4, Secret Lives of Pets 2.
Didn't see it.
I have not seen that.
I've been hearing mixed things.
6 million euros so far, though. At number 3, Men in Black International.
Didn't see that either.
It's not F. Gary Great, I'm afraid.
Oh, God, less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, but nobody expects it to be good.
No,
do
well,
we?
I
No,
mean,
no one expected it. It's also got the lowest opening of the entire Men in Black
Franchise.
franchise, hasn't it? Yeah.
And that's, like, again, not even adjusted for inflation.
Nope.
But, I mean, the thing about Men in
what?
Black International is that...
What's that, Jay?
Say what, Graham?
Yes, Queen.
Indeed.
But yeah, so the thing about Men in Black International, the Hollywood Reporter, and again, this is the thing of the summer of flops that we're living through. The Hollywood Reporter is publishing Autopsy Resort.
Yeah,
results
it's
every Monday
awful.
morning. But like, and again, because these films are flopping, everybody involved is as quick as possible to point fingers in other directions.
Let us not forget David Harbour and Hellboy.
Oh yeah.
Why not
It was
just make
everybody else's
better
fault.
films?
But the thing about Men in Black International is apparently there was a tug of war between the producer and the director.
Yeah, and the
Gary
director.
Gray wanted
It was
to-
being rewritten day by day.
I heard there's actors writing their own scenes and
Yeah,
everything.
stuff like that.
Yeah, they got really annoyed. Like F. Gary Gray said, I gave them a thing. They liked it, and then when it came to shooting the film, they didn't like it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing with Gray in this point as well is that Gray wanted to make a much more modern blockbuster. You can see the footprints of that, things around issues like immigration
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, which all the other
immigration,
films have dealt with to a
little
fashion.
bit.
I
Yeah.
wonder what he was told. Wonder what assurances he got when he signed on in that
Yeah.
regard, or whether that reneged or whatever.
Yeah,
which
because-
sounds like it a little bit.
Because I mean, that's the thing with Gray is Gray at least is coming off the back of Straight Outta Compton.
Yes.
He's coming off the back of Fast and Furious
Yeah,
8.
he should have been hot enough to be able to do whatever the
Yeah.
hell he wants.
Yeah,
Right, a
those two
Ticket to
films. I'm
Ride.
fairly certain one of those hit $1 billion.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
should,
and
like,
Straight Outta Compton was a big hit as well.
Yeah, it
and
was.
an Oscar.
And it was
Oh, an
Yeah,
Oscar.
it's a
He
fine
got
film as well.
he hit $1 billion with a film franchise that shouldn't have been $1 billion at the 8th film, and he got an Oscar. Like when you get something like that, you should be able to write your own ticket for at least a film.
Yeah. And again, what's interesting is for reasons unrelated to this podcast, I was back looking at like movies from 1998, and the Negotiator. That's an F. Gary Gray film.
It's not a very
Is
good
it?
film.
I know, but
I like
was
the
just
Negotiator,
amazed
but
that
I
it
was a teenager when I saw that film.
It's
Kevin Spacey
Yeah.
and
Spacey.
Samuel L. Jackson. And Paul Giamatti in a very weird role.
he had a lot of weird
Yeah,
support roles before he
yeah.
came somewhere. Like
My
that.
favorite one is Saving Private Ryan, where he's still recognizably Paul Giamatti. He sits down.
And Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, he sits down on a beam, and that beam knocks over like a whole bunch of bricks, and it exposes an entire Nazi command, and it's like, oi! Yeah!
Oh, God, I remember that.
It's the most Paul Giamatti scene imaginable in
He's
the
great.
context of World War II.
God
It's
bless
fantastic.
billions. That's all I got to say.
At number 2, it's Aladdin.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess how much money this has made
Too
at the
much.
Irish box?
Far too much.
At the Irish.
Yeah.
Because I know how much it's made.
How much it made
780,000.
800 million.
Yep. Will it break the billion, Graham? Do we-
God, it will. Ugh.
Try not to sound too excited about it.
I don't care.
Yeah,
I-
I'm kind of with Graham on this one.
It's like it's not a whole new world, guys, and I hate it. I don't hate it.
Graham,
I
you've
mean,
had a
it's just
year. Because the last time you did this podcast, you were very enthused. Today,
I
you're
was
like,
not
I hate
enthused
everything.
for Aladdin.
No, not
No,
that.
but
In
just in
general.
general.
In general, you've
Well, you know
gone
why?
full Darren. Like,
We'll think
Wait.
Jay, if we really say who I most like right now, according to films, let's be fair. I'm leaning more towards you.
that's true. Don't ever do that. That's not good. It's not good. There's no way back from this.
I will say, like, Naomi Scott is brilliant in it. What Will Smith can add his little bits to, he's good. But easily the worst part is Jafar. Like, he is a void of presence. There is nothing there. And when you remember Aladdin, he's a great...
away.
Oh, God, it's becoming contagious.
Sorry, Jay, you're salting that earth.
It's not a good film.
Genius.
Oh, I hate you both.
It's cruel.
Guys, wait and see how long it is before I come back.
I was lying in wait for that. Sorry.
That's another podcast.
I know, yeah. I was going into the whole...
Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to the whole catalogue.
Yeah.
You're going into the vault.
I probably deserve it.
No,
Go
it's
on,
a bit
Ryan.
wishy-washy.
Oh, man. But yeah, it's another Disney film that is paint by numbers, that's ripping from the script, and offers very little in return. If you... Like, it's 2 hours long. It's a half an hour longer than the original.
So you're saying
If not
that
40 minutes.
it pulls the rug out from under your feet?
No, because then it'd be unpredictable.
Sorry.
Then there'd be something that I couldn't predict.
Wasted that on you.
I feel like Graham's getting very angry, so we're going to move on to
Carpet
number one.
burns.
Number one.
Yeah, number one. Toy Story 4.
What a surprise.
With an underwhelming international debut. I think it earned about 118 million.
No,
box
I
office.
think it earned the highest. It debuted the highest an animated film has ever debuted.
In the
Maybe not
States,
maybe in the States or worldwide, but
Worldwide,
not
it's
in-
performed very well. In particular, in China, it's competing against
Spirited Away.
Very good.
But it's his first original release.
Yes.
It's not a new, not
No.
a re-release.
It's the first time Spirited Away has been
It's-
released in China.
And apparently it's
Really?
gone like gangbusters. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for
Which
them.
actually makes me really happy.
Yeah, it makes me
because I
very
love Spirited
happy.
Away.
But anyway, so back to Toy Story 4. You've seen Toy Story 4.
I have, yes. Oh, am I the only one?
No, I've seen it.
Yeah.
Well.
Okay.
I was sitting beside you.
You were.
You're wearing your blue jumper.
I was that invested in the film.
Yes, yes. Oh, no.
It's been a long year.
Yeah, God, it really has. God, it's been a long summer. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was like the best. Darren described it the best. It's a very different ending. It's watching it as an epilogue is probably the best way to view
it's a
it.
grace note.
Yeah, that seems to be the word, all
It's
right.
like if Toy Story 3 was the swan song, then this is just a little pirouette at the end.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's maybe the funniest.
Yes.
I think it's easily the
would agree-
funniest,
I would agree with
and that is in no small part to Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
Who
Ducky and Bunny.
Ducky and Bunny, who did something that I thought they were not going to do. I thought for sure they were going to be the token colored characters because their characters are brightly. I thought they were going to play the usual like new character stock. You know, that they're just coming in sidekicks, but they brought a really nice warmth to it, and also they have like the best joke that just goes.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking
Yes,
about?
I know the
They
one
have
you're
the
talking
best joke that I could not stop laughing at.
The plush rush, Graham.
Oh God, Plush Rush.
So
It sounds like something else, but it's not.
we're not doing that.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, I'm happy with it.
I'm
Is it a step too far? Maybe. That's my only issue. Was I feel like you can't ever say a film is unnecessary, but
Can I ask a question, though?
but maybe Toy Story 4 is
Will there be a Toy
unnecessary.
Story 5?
That's the question. I
mean, they say this is an end.
He
But
said
they
that
also
about
said
Toy
the last
Story
one.
3.
yeah, that's the thing. The thing is, and the way they've rationalized it is they've always said each Toy Story can be seen as an independent story.
You would say that. Just
And-
want to make money, though.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they said one was easily a beginning and an end, 2 was easily a beginning and an end,
yeah.
3 so and so on and so forth. This could be a beginning and an end. This could easily have been an end. I don't know if you can say it's a beginning, like the other ones, because there are repercussions that have been felt from the previous films. But it's
What I will say in
beautiful.
terms of it being necessary in inverted commas is I think that the world, and particularly like fandom and culture, are in a different place in 2019 as compared to where
Yes.
they were in 2013, I believe, when Toy Story.
yeah.
Yeah. So the issue is that like back then we were very optimistic at this idea of like passing toys on to the next generation. Things like say the Abrams Star Trek movies were still warmly received. We hadn't yet had the blowback to Into Darkness, for example. We hadn't had the fiasco that was the reaction to Ghostbusters. We hadn't had
Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens was on the horizon, but The Last
Yeah.
Jedi we hadn't
Yeah,
had the like shitstorm that
Oh,
was The
God.
Last Jedi. And so, like, in the context of Toy Story 3, it was possible to believe in a story where you could hand your toys to another generation.
Yeah.
And you could be happy to see those kids
Now you
Played
see them on
with-
eBay.
Now with
You hold them tight.
well, this is the thing. One thing I really like about Toy Story 4 is that it gets at this idea of people playing with toys in a different way. In fact, Woody's arc consists of realizing that what Bonnie wants from him as a toy is not the same thing that Andy wanted from him as a toy. And that's fine. Like, at one point, she literally takes the badge off him and puts it on Jessie in one of, like, the most surprisingly affecting and sort of, like, I think, getting the films about sequences. But because to her, Jessie is important.
Yeah, and they didn't play that to the cliche that it could easily have gone.
Woody's not angry about that. He kind of acknowledges correctly that his time in the limelight's over. It's time for Bonnie to enjoy and Jessie to enjoy. And it's really sweet. And again, that's kind of why I feel like it's necessary, because I feel like and it works very hard to get Woody to a place where it's not the ending of Toy Story 3, and it's not it's not an ending where Woody is dependent on validation from a child in order to need existence. And I think if we're talking about necessary in inverted commas, and you're right, no film has to be necessary, it just has to be good.
Yeah.
But if you want to justify its existence in a practical sense, I would argue that is the reason why.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I suppose that's why they're such good storytellers. I suppose that's why Pixar. It's just there was just a sense of like, I didn't need to see this. I was very happy with how Toy Story 3 ended.
I didn't need to see Toy Story 2 or Toy Story 3 until I saw them, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to the new releases. So let's get this out of the way as quickly as possible. Yesterday, which no one here has seen, I believe.
Nope.
And I won't be seen.
This is Danny Boyle directing Richard Curtis's screenplay, a story in which a man wakes up and discovers that the Beatles never existed.
Did he wish them away?
No, I think he just gets hit in the head and blacks out.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah. He wakes up in an alternate world and basically uses the music of the Beatles to get himself famous.
And meet Ed Sheeran.
Yep, the reviews on this are agnostic,
Mixed?
generally speaking.
Yeah, mixed, yeah.
There's a bit of cynicism towards Mr. Curtis's
What?
picks, which I think that listeners on the podcast may suspect that Jay empathizes with. But there's also a sense in which Curtis is familiar with the formula and trappings of this and knows how these sort of stories work. So we'll see how
He
that
did
works
create
out.
most of them.
Are you going to see it, Darren?
I may not get time to.
Graham?
No, I don't have
Good
time.
work, everyone. I feel like I've
If I see any
small,
film-
significant
dampered,
part-
like,
I can tell you
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah, just-
I have a pretty packed weekend. If I
That's
see
okay,
any
don't see it,
films,
no, it's
it's
fine.
going to be
Go on.
Brightburn or it's going to be John Wick 3.
Or Metal
Oh,
Heart.
you haven't seen John Wick?
I haven't seen John Wick 3. I feel so bad. It's out of movies at swords, and I'm really upset. I know.
Okay. Sorry, also out this week, Support the Girls.
Yes, I've seen
You've
this.
seen this.
I
This
have.
Phil
He has supported the girls.
He
I
has
have. I have
indeed.
literally. I figured it would be sport girls.
Not in the context of this film means, or one of
What
the
is this?
contexts.
No, it's not. Let's. Although
It's set in a
having-
Hooters-esque bar.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it's a double whammies. Is the wonderfully titled bar, and it's what's her name?
Regina Hall,
who
Haley
plays
Lou Richardson,
and Shayna McHale and James LaGrosse doing a great.
Regina Hall's having a great old time,
She's
isn't
great.
she?
She plays a bar general manager in this bar.
a
who-
sports bar with curves.
Yes, is the thing, and she
They're
basically
trying so hard not to say Hooters.
she has a bit of a day, basically, where a lot of things happen and she's under a lot of pressure, and amongst that is the kind of younger kind of workers that working at Haley Lou Richardson and Shane McHale being the main kind of thing, as she tries to help, and then she's her own family issues, and it's just this weird, strange kind of long day where a lot of things happens. It's really funny. Like, it's actually genuinely kind of great kind of performance comedy, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of
Well, Hall's very good at that.
She's brilliant at it. She's outstanding in this. It's a really thoughtful film. It's a kind of about the exhaustion of empathy, about how much you have to give.
Yeah.
And
whether that ends up
and how,
depleted.
where that ends and how much that impacts you, but still whilst being darkly funny all the way through. The Sportcast, as I mentioned, those two characters are fantastic. Haley Richardson is one of my favourites, like younger actresses, and she thinks she's fantastic. She's in the film of Columbus, which I've been banging the drum about the last couple of years. She is glorious in that. And
For the director
great
of
in
Every
this.
Frame of Picture, isn't it?
Yes, it's a great,
and
great
also
film.
starring the guy from Searching, John Chu.
John Cho, yeah, and he's great. It's
I
a
like
really
John Cho.
wonderful film. It's a really, really wonderful film, and more people should see it. And this has one of the great final scenes I've seen in the film in quite some time as well. It's just one of those kind of great low-key gems, and I hope people don't kind of miss out on it. I suspect they won't hang around too long, so I'm not quite sure who the market is for it.
Jay
as
would
such.
urge you to get out and support the girls.
Support the girls. Guys.
That was too easy.
It's great. It's really great.
All right. Also out this week, Peter Strickland's In Fabric, which I haven't seen, but sounds fascinating.
If you've seen any Peter Strickland films, he's made a couple. In Fabric's the latest one.
Have you heard about this, Graham?
No, I haven't. Why?
Tell him the
Do you
premise.
want to tell him the premise? Go on.
Essentially, it's a haunted dress.
A murderous.
A cursed dress
haunted
that's passed from kind of a...
I mean, that's what I
person to
thought
person.
Phantom Thread was going to be, so it's about time.
Well, indeed, yeah,
I
that's
mean, Peter Strickland saw Phantom Thread and was like, this was not what was
This
promised
is
at
not
all.
nearly possessed enough.
Yeah, this is...
But Peter Strickland's made a couple of films that are of note the last few years. He made Barbarian Sound Studio
Yes.
with Toby Jones,
yeah.
set in a kind of Italian giallo making of a film where a lot of weird things
So
happen.
it's Foley work, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
the
the
sound, the
smashing of
smashing
like
of thing,
lettuce
yeah.
and
Yeah,
rotten vegetables in order to generate the sound of what you see in films.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
then he made
I
one,
remember being great.
a film called The Duke of Burgundy in 2014, which is fantastic.
I haven't seen that one, but you
I
and
would
Ronan are both
heartily
strong
recommend it.
advocates
It's
of it.
a fabulous film. A very strange kind of relationship drama between two women that goes into fairly unexpected places and really, really good. So this I'm very much looking forward to seeing. I wasn't as big on Barbarian Sound Studio as everyone else.
Okay.
I quite liked it.
I think
But
it made the Irish Times list of films of the year. If
it
I
didn't
recall
make
correctly.
mine, but I did like the Duke of Burgundy a hell
But
of a
you
lot
thought it was
more. and
pretty
did
sound
make,
otherwise.
yes.
Okay.
So that's all.
I just like the idea of a possessed dress.
Yeah, the poster for it is glorious. If you can see it, the poster is absolutely fabulous.
Yeah.
In a world of turgid posters, which we seem to exist in,
Yes.
it is very
Where
much a
Photoshop
standout
reigns.
one.
I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
like that
Blacklustedly.
Niall, our editor, described it as what if the cape from Doctor Strange was a serial killer.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
that'd
that's
be
a lovely
amazing.
description.
I think we're
Because it killed some people in that film.
also out this week, and perhaps the movie Darren is most likely to see this week, Drive.
What?
Which is
What?
the Bollywood remake.
Oh,
of
no.
2011.
You're gonna be all
They
over
didn't
this,
even
Darren.
change the title.
Tell me this doesn't sound right up
It's got to
my
be
street.
better than Drive.
It's an Whoa, okay.
Easy
Pump
there.
the brakes.
Hey, very good.
Hey, thank you.
Jesus.
Sorry, I won't be guzzling over that one. Anyway, an unnamed
That's
stunt
not a
driver
good
who
one.
moonlights as a... Give me this, Graham.
I give you every single one of them.
But yeah, an unnamed stunt driver who moonlights as a getaway driver soon becomes attracted to a female neighbor whose husband owes some money to a local gangster, and he's drawn deeper into a dangerous underworld. So yeah, I'm very interested because again, Bollywood has a history of remaking like American.
At what
or
point do you think there'll
English
be a
films.
dance?
Yeah, no, there will be musical.
I
numbers.
know.
It's gonna be great.
That's how it goddamn well should
Like,
be.
I mean, come on, Race 3 features Can't Stop Thinking About You in a club while a high-stakes bank heist is taking place, and you can tell the director's like, the bank heist is not important, I Can't Stop Thinking About You as a dance number. It's amazing. Anyway, also out this week, Apollo 11. Which is the documentary from
You
Todd
became
Douglas
so
Miller.
you reined in so much there after.
The word of this is good.
I've seen this actually.
Have
'Cause
you?
It's available. I shouldn't actually say this on its opening weekend, but it is on video on demand in the States.
Yeah,
So I have
and these
seen
things.
this.
In fairness, I saw Sporting Girls that way.
Yeah.
So,
And how'd you find it?
I really loved it.
Yeah?
But again, this is very much in Darren's wheelhouse. Darren likes movies about space. But also just like it's an interesting documentary the way that it's constructed. It's famously harnessed from thousands of hours of first-hand footage covering the moon landing. Well, the moon launch, the moon landing. But it's like, so it's very little narration. It's actually just footage basically edited like a narrative feature using documentary footage. It's fascinating, it's beautiful, it's striking. It's amazing to see that footage and amazing to see how crisp and how clear it looks. But also just in terms of how it captures the mood and the context of the place and the time as well. And because you know the story of Apollo 11 well enough, it doesn't matter that there isn't narration, there aren't talking heads, they aren't cutting away to explaining things.
Yeah.
It's really, really beautifully made and really, really stunning. It's going to be screening in IMAX this weekend in Cineworld. I will be heading with a couple of friends to see it in IMAX, despite the fact
So look
we're
out for
already seeing
Darren.
it on video. But yeah, no, like, I mean,
you
we're
mean
really, really excited.
Limax, don't you?
No, the actual IMAX in Cineworld.
No,
so
but
I
that's
sense-
not an actual IMAX.
Oh, okay, it's branded as an IMAX.
Yes,
though.
it
And
is,
that-
but it's not an actual IMAX.
the nice
It's not on
people-
the...
Guys, can we not derail at this point?
the nice people at IMAX would never lie to me.
Well,
Yes,
there's
they
a reason
would,
why it's
that's
called
the
Limax,
point.
Darren. It's literally called Limax by everyone. That's why it's called
I
that.
will say I don't call it that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone, Graham.
I think that director Todd Douglas Miller shoots for the moon with this, and I think he
I
lands
swear to
as
God.
well.
You literally stop a podcast so you can figure out a pun.
No, I was
He
I was bringing
plans
us
this in
back. I
advance.
was
He's
bringing-
no fool.
Oh, I almost forgot actually. Releasing this week, there's a big Irish release, which is Metal Heart.
Yes.
Which is Hugh O'Connor's theatrical debut, starring Jordana Jones as well.
Hugh
which-
O'Connor.
Yeah. We've both seen this, Graham. You and
Yes, I also got to interview Jordan and Hugh himself. Yeah, it's a really nice film.
It's lovely. It's got
It's
this sort of
lovely.
warm glow around it as well.
Which is ironic for a metal heart.
Hi. Oh, it will
I got
melt
there first.
It will,
Well done. Well done, everyone.
well played.
I'm very proud of you. Well done, Graham.
I know.
feel like, but
Took me long enough.
I really like Metal Heart.
Yeah, I really
It's
like
very much. It's a standard teen film. It reminds me a lot of stuff like Angus Thongs and Full Frontal Snogging.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yes. And it's great to see that in Irish context as well. It's got a huge metal heart, but it's got this sort of like real energy and verve to it. It's got a whole set of great performances, particularly from its teen actors.
Yeah,
which is
a particular one for me is Aaron and Sean Doyle. They have this one
Aaron
scene,
Heffernan, yes.
where they Aaron's character slags him off. I think Alan slags off Gary, because you literally like Halloween, and he looks and Gary looks at him, and he goes, "No, I'm only messing. No, come on, you look great."
Yeah,
and it's like I'm underselling it. I'm underselling it wonderfully, it, but it is just like it's so well.
It has
done.
that level of empathy that you kind of expect from a kind of a good teen film. Very
And
much like
Mo
Booksmart, for
Dunford is
example.
surprisingly convincing as that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like it's because we know
got
Mo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like as I said to Hugh O'Connor, it's not an Irish film. It's not called Mo Dunford.
That's
in it.
exactly. Statistically speaking,
Well, that's true.
it's
He
like,
has to kind of be
I think
clear.
it's required for film board funding at this
Yes, I
point.
think
You
so.
have to have
He's
Mo Dunford.
at least 3 films every 6 months.
I'm hoping to get to this next week.
It's
'cause I
lovely.
didn't get to it because I'm a big Jordan Jones fan. She's been terrific.
It's
for a
really
while.
funny because I think it'll remind a lot of people maybe of their childhoods, of their teens, of their late teens, of like trying to understand.
I've forgotten mine. I won't remember next time. That's fine.
I don't know.
Maybe you'll have like PTSD flashbacks.
I hope so.
No, it is, and it has this kind of warm empathy that runs through this understanding as a teenager, and like the central arc being discovering that other people have feelings and matter are more complex as well.
Yeah.
There's a tenderness to it that I found very disarming and then kind of really got under my skin in
Yeah.
a great way. And it's also, and I'm really glad to see it. It's a very sex positive movie as well in terms of particularly for young girls.
Yeah.
Which is very still surprisingly rare in terms of mainstream cinema as well,
Yeah.
and it's great to see it in an Irish film as well. So yeah, that'll be it.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
And I would say, I know a lot of people are talking about Jordan, but I was
McNamara?
surprised by Leia.
Leia McNamara plays her twin sister.
She plays the twin sister, and she has a storyline that like everyone has seen before. But where it goes and how Leia plays the character is actually really, really interesting. And I really appreciated that because everyone can always relate to the outsider in that because everyone believes themselves to be the outsider. With Leia, she plays the character who, is the popular one, but then there's a knock. There's a knock at her life. There's a knock at her plan. And it's just like people are surprisingly more like that. They have plans and everything. And then life knocks you for a loop.
Yep,
And maybe you can't get back up.
Yeah.
And she plays that part really convincingly, really interestingly.
And again, I think that speaks to, again, the empathy of the film.
And
as
Hugh
well.
O'Connor is a director.
Yes.
He's a fine man.
Yeah.
I will say you should go and see this and not go and see Yesterday because Yesterday was trash.
Well,
Go and see Metal Heart.
I would recommend going to see Metal Heart because it's the
Yes.
kind of Irish film you should
Also,
encourage.
Yeah,
because
also we need
it's-
to,
we need more of
yeah,
these
we need to
films.
support
Yesterday
our...
is dreadful.
Okay.
Sorry.
Also, Metal Heart is great, is what
Yes,
we're
I
saying.
know
Yes,
it's
it's great,
Metal Heart.
Just so
right.
we're all on the same
I know
page.
I am agreeing.
No,
But yes.
Yeah, Metal Heart's great. BBS.
All right, so I think this about wraps it up, kind of almost in record time this week. So people looking for a bit more Jay, a bit more Graham in their lives, where can they find you guys online?
At J Kyle on Twitter.
At Graham Geek Era on Twitter, and I think I'm going to be a guest soon.
Possibly on the 250.
On the
podcast,
250,
which
yeah.
is the other podcast that I host.
Yes.
Where
Jesus, do you find the time, Darren?
this is why I'm not watching Yesterday.
That's
but yes.
not the reason. Go on.
But yeah, so yes, I co-host another podcast called The 250. You can find us at The 250 online. This week, actually, we have the wonderful Jess Dunn and Luke Dunn from Film in Dublin. They're popping over to mark Independence Day next week, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, the big starring role debut from two young Texan actors, Matthew
called-
McConaughey
and Renee Zellweger.
Yes.
Yes.
Will it be McConaughey or will it be McConaughey? You'll have to
Also-
tune in and find out.
Also,
well pitched,
eagle-eared listeners, I suppose that's a catchphrase, will notice that I make a cameo in the episode.
You do indeed. All
That
right.
sounds very vaguely sinister, Graham, I have to say.
Well, it is Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
That's
so
true, yeah, fair.
All right, take it easy, guys. Bye.
Bye.